My loyal Real students will of course remember my affinity for the writing of Joss Whedon. You know that guy, the guy who for years wrote female characters who were just as strong, if not more so, than their male counterparts. And then the man who was quickly and unfairly branded a misogynist. Now I bring this up for a few reasons. Number one is I don't really care what gender or sexual orientation a character in science fiction is. All I care about is good writing. And number two, there are a lot of idiots out there. Misogynists? You're idiots. People who call Whedon a misogynist? You're idiots. And people who claim the only reason somebody cannot like this Ghostbusters film is because they're obviously a misogynist? You're idiots. Ironically enough, that may be the closest thing to equality that some of these people are fighting for. Who would have thought that in a year where a man and a woman duke it out for the American presidency, that the most politically charged battle of the sexes would be who's allowed to shoot lasers at ghosts? Maybe Sony should have talked about who's allowed to direct a movie about shooting lasers at ghosts, because Paul Feig is a very specific and pointed choice. When you hire the man who's behind Bridesmaids, The Heat, and Spy, you have to know what you're gonna get in a movie. Melissa McCarthy? Let's talk about the cast right off the bat. Now, someone once wrote, probably in defense of the casting of this film, that these four comedians are the four funniest women out there today. Now, I won't argue that Kristen Wiig and Melissa McCarthy are very funny and very well known. But could most of the world even name the other two? Now maybe that wouldn't be a bad thing, because in '84 it was a very similar situation. Sure, everybody knew who Bill Murray was, but could anybody name all four of the Ghostbusters? Definitely not Hudson, right? And in '84, people knew exactly what they were going to get from Bill Murray. And in 2016, you better believe you know exactly what you're going to get from Kristen Wiig and Melissa McCarthy. And I personally have not enjoyed these shticks that they've developed over their career. You know, where Kristen Wiig is all awkward and nerdy and Melissa McCarthy is shouting something as she's falling, because that's funny. But when it came to these other two seemingly anonymous comedians, I had no preconception, and yet Kate McKinnon and Leslie Jones still disappointed me, but for different reasons. I desperately wanted Kate McKinnon to be the best part of this movie. I'm not really sure why. I enjoy her work in SNL. Maybe I thought this could be her big break. Bigger than SNL, but the fact of the matter is, while some enjoyed her performance, I felt she went out of her way to be quirky and weird, even desperately so. And Leslie Jones, who I thought would be the worst part of this film, especially because of what I saw in the trailer, turned out to have some real moments. She felt like the truest character. But of course, she had to ruin that realness with some awfully unfunny stereotypical humor. You all saw it in the trailer. The power of Patty compels me to leave the theater. Now, it may be slightly unfair to compare this to the original Ghostbusters. It is its own film, and these four women are trying to make their own characters and their own dynamic. But the fact is, it was the characters that I had the biggest issue with. Every character in the '84 Ghostbusters felt real. Sure, Egon and Ray were weird, strange, but never to the point of caricature. And Winston never felt like a stereotype. They even gave him some of the best lines in both movies. So are we talking about something else here? Yes, it goes back to the original point of what I said. When you hire Paul Feig, you know exactly what you're going to get. And in this case, it is awful, cheap comedic writing from he and co-writer Katie Dippold, who also brought us The Heat, which is ironic because she never brings the heat when she writes a movie. The so-called comedic writing of this film is so ham-fisted, it doesn't give the audience any credit whatsoever. There's one scene where Abby, played by Melissa McCarthy, gets some extra kick from the proton glider, and it sends her flying through the air. See, that's already a sight gag, and then Kristen Wiig makes a joke about it, and then they end the little trilogy with McCarthy flying through the air saying, "This is like wrestling a gator." We get it. Somebody should tell Feig and Dippold that is not how the comedic rule of three works. I fully understand there is a time and place for brainless comedies. There is an audience out there for brainless comedies, and I myself have enjoyed a few in my lifetime. But when you call yourself the Ghostbusters, and remember, nobody else thrust that name upon you, there is a certain expectation in the comedic writing style, a certain level of wit you would think would come with anything that calls itself the Ghostbusters. But Ghostbusters 2016 has no wit. It is so ham-fisted. It gives the audience no credit whatsoever, and it is the laziest form of comedic writing. Well, can anything make this worse? How about a little misandry? You heard it here, real schoolers. I am calling out the 2016 Ghostbusters for hypocrisy. Now, I am not defending the truly awful things said by misogynists online when it came to these girl Ghostbusters. The sad thing is, the filmmakers were no better. It starts as a quick jab as Abby and Aaron are reading the comments section on YouTube, and Abby comments, you shouldn't really read those. And I chuckled. Holtzman at one point wears a "just one of the guys" t-shirt. And I thought, that was fairly clever. But it all boils down to Chris Hemsworth's Kevin, the personification of how this film went out of its way to, dare I say it, hate on men. He's a beefcake, sure. He's eye candy. Good for him. But the fact is, he's so painfully stupid in this film that it goes past the point of unfunny to the point of actually being offensive. Now, I understand that in '84, there's some really inappropriate stuff happening with Sigourney Weaver's character. I mean, Peter Venkman is a little bit of a creep, but does that make it right? Let me just add that I'm not really defending my masculinity here or my male rights. I'm married, I don't really have that much left. But the fact of the matter is, in 2016, stereotyping any gender or sexual orientation as stupid and merely a sexual object is offensive. But it doesn't even end there. Holtzman invents something called the Nutcracker that has nothing to do with ghosts. And even further, in the climax of the film, all 4 female Ghostbusters shoot a ghost square in the junk. Again, I know Ghostbusters wasn't completely PC, but when these 4 men fought Gozer, they screamed, "Aim for the flat top," not "Punch her in the boob!" So it all comes full circle. Or a ghost with a no smoking sign through it. It became political. It became men versus women, which the Ghostbusters was never intended to be. It's a film franchise about 4 people who shoot lasers at ghosts. The filmmakers got so caught up in making a female-centric Ghostbusters film that they forgot to make a good Ghostbusters film. And what's worse, those misogynists who were so wrong in the first place are now not the only wrong ones in this situation. The filmmakers could have taken the high road, made a great film and proven them wrong, but instead they resorted to tactics which took the low road. Needless to say, this whole situation is a burn it. Poll question, what do you think has been the worst Hollywood reboot of late? As always, leave your answers in the comments section below. Be sure to subscribe to Real School, follow me on Twitter, and of course, if you get anything out of Real School, you can always give a little back. Just click the link, and you can become part of my Patreon team. So Real students, I hope you enjoyed the first episode in my new set. I know it looks a lot like the old set, but I hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, school's out.